The cafeteria went silent the moment Akosua Mensah slammed her tray down on the table, sending chocolate milk splashing across the pristine white sweater of the girl sitting alone in the corner. The liquid dripped down slowly, creating an ugly brown stain that spread like a disease across the fabric. Every single person in that room held their breath, watching, waiting, anticipating what would come next because they knew exactly who Akosua was and exactly what she was capable of doing. The quiet Korean girl didn't move. She didn't flinch. She didn't even look up from her book. She simply sat there, completely still, as if the chocolate milk soaking through her expensive sweater meant absolutely nothing to her. Her name was Minji Park, and she had been attending Westbrook Academy for exactly 3 weeks, and in those 3 weeks, she had spoken to maybe 4 people total, and 3 of those conversations had been with teachers asking her questions in class. Akosua leaned down, her long braids falling over her shoulder, her perfectly glossed lips curved into a smile that held no warmth whatsoever. "Oh my goodness, I am so sorry," she said, her voice dripping with sarcasm so thick you could almost taste it. "I didn't see you sitting there. You're just so invisible, you know? Like a little ghost. A little sad, pathetic ghost who eats lunch alone every single day." The students around them started laughing, that nervous kind of laughter that happens when people are relieved they're not the target of someone's cruelty. Akosua's best friend, Diamond, stepped up beside her, her arms crossed over her chest, her designer bag hanging from her elbow like a status symbol that screamed money and power. "Girl, you really need to work on your coordination," Diamond said, playing along with the act. "That poor sweater. Looks expensive too. What a shame." Minji finally looked up, and for just a moment, something flickered in her dark eyes. It wasn't fear. It wasn't anger. It was something else entirely, something that Akosua couldn't quite identify, something that made her feel just a tiny bit uncomfortable in a way she refused to acknowledge. But then it was gone, replaced by that same blank, empty expression that Minji always wore. "It's fine," Minji said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's just a sweater." Akosua felt a surge of irritation at that response. Where was the crying? Where was the begging? Where was the humiliation that was supposed to make Akosua feel powerful and in control? This girl wasn't giving her anything, and that made Akosua want to push harder, dig deeper, find the breaking point that everyone had. "Just a sweater?" Akosua repeated, straightening up and putting her hand on her hip. "Do you not understand what just happened here? I just ruined your clothes, and you're sitting there acting like it doesn't matter. What's wrong with you? Are you stupid or something? If you're already invested in this story, trust me, you're going to want to stick around until the end because what happens next is going to completely shock you. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss a single second of this. Drop a comment telling me what you think is going to happen to Akosua. And if you're watching this, smash that like button because it really helps this video reach more people who love to hear stories like these. Now, let me tell you a little bit about Akosua Mensah because understanding who she was is essential to understanding everything that came after. Akosua was born in Atlanta, Georgia, to Ghanaian immigrant parents who had sacrificed everything to give their children a better life. Her father, Kwame Mensah, owned 3 successful restaurants that served authentic Ghanaian cuisine, and her mother, Alma, was a nurse who worked double shifts at the local hospital. They were good people, hardworking people, the kind of people who believed that respect and kindness were the foundations of a life well lived. But somewhere along the way, Akosua had lost sight of those values. Maybe it was when she discovered that her natural charisma and beauty could open doors for her. Maybe it was when she realized that being popular felt better than being kind. Maybe it was when she figured out that making others feel small was the easiest way to make herself feel big. Whatever the reason, by the time she reached her junior year at Westbrook Academy, Akosua had become the undisputed queen of the school. Everyone knew her name. Everyone wanted to be her friend. Everyone feared her wrath. She was the captain of the dance team, the president of the student council, and the girlfriend of Marcus Thompson, the star quarterback of the football team. Her Instagram had 40,000 followers. Her outfits were copied by girls across the county. Her words could make or break someone's entire social existence. And she wielded that power like a weapon, cutting down anyone who threatened her position or simply annoyed her on any given day. Minji Park was different. Minji Park was a mystery. She had transferred to Westbrook Academy at the beginning of November, right in the middle of the semester, which was strange enough on its own. She drove to school in a black Mercedes with tinted windows so dark you couldn't see inside. She wore clothes that looked simple but were actually incredibly expensive if you knew what to look for. She never talked about her family. She never talked about where she came from. She never talked about anything, really. She just existed, moving through the hallways like a shadow, never making waves, never drawing attention, never giving anyone a reason to notice her. But Akosua had noticed her. From the very first day, Akosua had noticed the way Minji walked with her head down, the way she sat alone at lunch, the way she flinched slightly whenever someone raised their voice near her. There was something about her that screamed vulnerability, and Akosua was drawn to vulnerability the way a shark was drawn to blood in the water. The bullying had started small. A comment here. A laugh there. A deliberately placed foot that sent Minji stumbling in the hallway. But Minji never reacted. She never cried. She never reported anything to the teachers. She just took it, absorbed it, let it roll off her like water off a duck's back. And that drove Akosua absolutely insane. Back in the cafeteria, Akosua was still standing over Minji, still waiting for a reaction that wasn't coming. The other students were getting bored, their attention starting to drift back to their own conversations, their own lunches, their own lives. Akosua couldn't have that. She couldn't let this moment end without establishing her dominance. You know what your problem is? Akosua said, her voice getting louder so everyone could hear. Your problem is that you think you're better than everyone else. You walk around here with your designer clothes and your fancy car, acting like you're too good to talk to any of us. Like we're beneath you or something. Minji closed her book slowly, carefully, her movements deliberate and controlled. When she looked up at Akosua this time, there was something different in her gaze, something harder, something that made Akosua take an involuntary step backward. I don't think I'm better than anyone, Minji said, her voice still quiet but somehow carrying across the entire cafeteria. I just want to be left alone. Is that really too much to ask? Akosua felt heat rise to her cheeks, a mixture of embarrassment and anger that made her blood boil. This girl, this nobody, was making her look bad in front of everyone. That was unacceptable. See, that's the thing, Akosua said, stepping closer again, refusing to show any weakness. You don't get to decide how things work around here. I decide. I run this school. And if I want to talk to you, you're going to talk to me. If I want you to jump, you're going to ask how high. That's just how it is. A flicker of something crossed Minji's face. Was that amusement? Was she actually finding this funny? You should be more careful, Minji said softly, almost to herself. About the people you choose to bully. Before Akosua could respond, the bell rang, signaling the end of lunch. Students started gathering their things, the moment dissolving as quickly as it had formed. Minji stood up, picked up her book, and walked out of the cafeteria without looking back, leaving Akosua standing there with chocolate milk still dripping from the edge of the table. Diamond grabbed Akosua's arm, pulling her toward the exit. Girl, what was that? Did she just threaten you? That wasn't a threat, Akosua said, watching Minji disappear around the corner. That was just some weird girl trying to act tough. She's nothing. She's nobody. But even as she said the words, something nagged at the back of Akosua's mind. Something about the way Minji had looked at her. Something about the quiet confidence hidden beneath that shy exterior. Something that told her maybe, just maybe, she had picked the wrong target this time. The next few weeks were brutal. Akosua escalated her campaign against Minji with a vengeance, determined to break through that calm exterior and prove that she was still the most powerful person at Westbrook Academy. She spread rumors that Minji was a spy sent from North Korea, which was ridiculous and racist and cruel in a way that made some people uncomfortable but not uncomfortable enough to say anything. She convinced the dance team to exclude Minji from any social events, even though Minji had never expressed any interest in attending them in the first place. She stole Minji's gym clothes, forcing her to sit out of PE in her regular clothes and earn a 0 for the day. And still, Minji didn't react. She didn't cry. She didn't fight back. She just existed, enduring everything that Akosua threw at her with that same quiet resilience that was starting to drive Akosua to the edge of madness. Why doesn't she do anything? Akosua complained to Diamond one afternoon as they walked through the parking lot after school. Normal people would have cracked by now. Normal people would have transferred to another school or at least tried to stand up for themselves. But she just takes it. It's so weird. Diamond shrugged, checking her reflection in the window of a parked car. Maybe she's just dumb. Or maybe she doesn't have anywhere else to go. Who cares? You've made your point. Everyone knows not to mess with you. Why are you so obsessed with her anyway? Akosua didn't have an answer for that. She didn't know why Minji had gotten so far under her skin, why breaking this one girl had become so important to her. All she knew was that she couldn't stop, not until she had proven that she was stronger, more powerful, more worthy of respect than this silent ghost who refused to play by the rules of the social hierarchy. It was a random Tuesday when everything started to change. Akosua was leaving the school building late after a student council meeting when she heard raised voices coming from around the corner. She crept closer, curious, and what she saw made her freeze in her tracks. Minji was standing with her back against the wall, cornered by 3 guys that Akosua recognized. They were seniors, athletes, the kind of guys who thought their muscles gave them permission to do whatever they wanted. And they were standing way too close to Minji, their body language aggressive and threatening. "Come on, sweetheart," the tallest one said, reaching out to touch Minji's hair. "We just want to get to know you better. Why are you always alone? Pretty girl like you shouldn't be alone." Akosua felt something twist in her stomach. This was different from what she did. This was dangerous in a way that made her skin crawl. She should do something. She should say something. But her feet wouldn't move, her voice wouldn't work. She was frozen, watching. And then Minji moved. It happened so fast that Akosua almost missed it. 1 second, the tall guy was reaching for Minji. The next second, he was on the ground, clutching his wrist and screaming in pain. Minji had grabbed his hand, twisted it at an unnatural angle, and brought him to his knees in one fluid motion that looked like something out of a martial arts movie. The other 2 guys rushed at her, but Minji was already in motion. She ducked under a punch, drove her elbow into the second guy's solar plexus, and swept the third guy's legs out from under him before he could even register what was happening. In less than 10 seconds, all 3 of them were on the ground, groaning in pain, while Minji stood over them with that same calm, blank expression she always wore. "I told you," Minji said quietly, straightening her sweater as if nothing had happened. "I just want to be left alone." She picked up her bag and walked away, leaving the 3 guys struggling to get to their feet. Akosua pressed herself further into the shadows, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. What had she just witnessed? Who was this girl? How had she done that? Akosua didn't sleep that night. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Minji's face, calm and controlled, as she took down 3 guys twice her size like it was nothing. She saw the smooth efficiency of those movements, the way Minji had calculated each strike with precision. This wasn't someone who had taken a few self-defense classes at the local YMCA. This was someone who had been trained, really trained, by people who knew what they were doing. The next day at school, Akosua found herself watching Minji differently. She noticed things she hadn't noticed before. The way Minji always sat with her back to the wall, facing the door. The way her eyes constantly scanned the room, tracking movements, identifying exits. The way she walked with a controlled grace that spoke of discipline and practice. How had Akosua missed all of this before? But instead of making her back off, this new information only made Akosua more determined. She couldn't let people think she was afraid of anyone, especially not some transfer student who had been keeping secrets. She needed to prove that she was still in charge. During lunch, Akosua marched up to Minji's table with Diamond and two other girls from the dance team flanking her like soldiers ready for battle. Well, 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 she said loudly, making sure everyone in the vicinity could hear. If it isn't the little ninja. Heard you got into a fight yesterday. 3 against 1. Must have thought you were pretty tough, huh? Minji looked up from her book, her expression unreadable. I didn't start that fight. I finished it. There's a difference. Akosua laughed, but it came out forced, brittle. So now you can talk. Now you have something to say? What happened to being a quiet little mouse? I only speak when I have something worth saying, Minji replied calmly. Which is why I don't talk to you very often. The girls behind Akosua gasped. Diamond grabbed Akosua's arm as if holding her back from a physical confrontation. Oh no, she didn't, Diamond said dramatically. She did not just say that to you. Akosua's face burned with humiliation. No one talked to her like that. No one. You think you're so clever, don't you? You think because you can throw a few punches that you're somehow special? Let me tell you something, sweetheart. You're nothing. You're a nobody from nowhere with no friends and no life. And all those little karate tricks won't change that. Minji closed her book again, that same deliberate motion that Akosua was starting to recognize as a warning sign. You don't know anything about me. You don't know where I come from or what I've been through or who my family is. And trust me when I say that you really, really don't want to find out. Is that another threat? Akosua demanded, stepping closer despite the voice in her head telling her to back off. Because I don't respond well to threats. Minji stood up slowly, and even though she was shorter than Akosua by several inches, she somehow seemed to fill the space, seemed to tower over everyone in the room. It's not a threat. It's a warning. I've been patient with you because I understand that you're just a child playing games you don't understand. But my patience has limits. Push me too far, and you will regret it. The bell rang, and Minji gathered her things and walked away, leaving Akosua standing there with her mouth hanging open and her reputation in tatters. The whispers started immediately, spreading through the cafeteria like wildfire. Did you hear what she said? Did you see the way she stood up to Akosua? Maybe she's not as weak as we thought. Maybe Akosua finally met her match. Akosua spent the rest of the day seething. She couldn't focus in her classes. She snapped at Marcus when he tried to talk to her. She was rude to her teachers. By the time she got home that evening, she was ready to explode. Her mother noticed immediately. Akosua, what's wrong? You've been stomping around since you walked through the door. Nothing, Akosua muttered, throwing herself onto the couch. Just some girl at school who thinks she's better than me. Her mother sat down beside her, placing a gentle hand on her knee. Tell me about it. And suddenly, Akosua was spilling everything. The bullying. The chocolate milk. The fight she had witnessed. The confrontation at lunch. All of it came pouring out in a flood of words and emotions that she couldn't control. When she finally stopped talking, her mother was looking at her with an expression that Akosua couldn't quite read. Let me make sure I understand, her mother said slowly. You've been bullying this girl for weeks. You've been making her life miserable for no reason other than she's quiet and keeps to herself. And now you're angry because she finally stood up for herself? Akosua opened her mouth to argue, but her mother held up a hand. I didn't raise you to be this person, Akosua. Your father and I didn't sacrifice everything we had to bring you to this country so that you could become a bully. Do you understand how disappointed I am right now? The words hit Akosua like a physical blow. Her mother never talked to her like this. Her mother was always supportive, always encouraging, always on her side no matter what. This was new territory, and Akosua didn't like it one bit. You don't understand, Akosua said defensively. She's weird. She doesn't talk to anyone. She acts like she's better than everyone else. And that gives you the right to torment her? Her mother's voice was sharp now, the kind of sharp that meant Akosua was in serious trouble. That gives you permission to pour drinks on her and spread rumors about her and make her life a living nightmare? Is that what you're telling me? Akosua couldn't answer. When her mother put it like that, it sounded terrible. It sounded exactly like what it was. Cruel. Unnecessary. Wrong. I want you to apologize to this girl, her mother said firmly. Tomorrow. I want you to go up to her, look her in the eye, and apologize for everything you've done. And I want you to mean it. Mom, I can't, Akosua protested. Do you know what that would do to my reputation? Everyone would think I'm weak. Her mother stood up, her expression hardening. I don't care about your reputation. I care about your character. And right now, your character is ugly. Fix it. That night, Akosua lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, thinking about everything her mother had said. She thought about Minji, alone in that cafeteria, chocolate milk dripping down her sweater. She thought about the way Minji never cried, never fought back, just endured. She thought about what it must feel like to be new at a school where everyone had already decided to hate you for no reason at all. And for the first time, Akosua felt something other than anger when she thought about Minji Park. She felt shame. The next day, Akosua walked into school with a mission. She was going to apologize to Minji. She was going to make things right. She was going to prove to her mother and to herself that she was better than the person she had become. But finding Minji proved to be harder than expected. She wasn't in the cafeteria at lunch. She wasn't in her usual spot in the library during free period. She wasn't anywhere that Akosua looked. It was like she had vanished into thin air. Finally, Akosua found her behind the gymnasium, sitting alone on a concrete bench, staring at her phone with an expression that Akosua had never seen on her face before. Sadness. Raw, genuine sadness that made her look younger, more vulnerable, more human than Akosua had ever allowed herself to see her. Hey, Akosua said awkwardly, approaching slowly. Can I sit down? Minji looked up, her expression immediately closing off, becoming that familiar blank mask. What do you want? I want to talk to you. Please. Just hear me out. For a long moment, Minji just stared at her, searching her face for signs of another trick, another trap. Finally, she nodded toward the empty space on the bench. Fine. Talk. Akosua sat down, keeping a careful distance between them. She took a deep breath, gathering her courage. I want to apologize. For everything. The chocolate milk. The rumors. The stolen gym clothes. All of it. I was wrong, and I'm sorry. Minji didn't respond. She just continued to stare at Akosua with those dark, unreadable eyes. I know that doesn't fix anything, Akosua continued, her words tumbling out faster now. I know I hurt you, and I know that saying sorry doesn't undo that hurt. But I needed you to know that I see what I did wrong. I see that I was cruel for no reason. And I want to be better. The silence stretched between them, heavy and uncomfortable. Akosua fidgeted, waiting for a response, any response. Finally, Minji spoke. Why now? Why today? What changed? My mom, Akosua admitted. I told her what I've been doing, and she was so disappointed. She said she didn't raise me to be a bully. And when she said it out loud like that, I realized how terrible I've been. I realized that I'd been hurting you just because I could, just because it made me feel powerful. And that's disgusting. Minji's expression softened almost imperceptibly. It takes courage to admit when you're wrong. I don't feel courageous, Akosua said honestly. I feel like a coward. I feel like the worst version of myself. Another long pause. Then, slowly, Minji nodded. I accept your apology. But that doesn't mean I trust you. Trust has to be earned. I know. I'll earn it. I promise. Minji turned back to her phone, and Akosua noticed that her eyes were glistening slightly, as if she was fighting back tears. Can I ask what you were looking at? Akosua asked carefully. Before I came over. You looked sad. Minji hesitated, then turned the phone so Akosua could see the screen. It was a photograph of a woman, beautiful and elegant, with the same dark eyes that Minji had. My mother. Today is the anniversary of her death. Akosua felt her heart clench. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. How could you? You never asked anything about me. No one ever does. Minji's voice was matter of fact, not bitter, just stating the truth. She died 5 years ago. Car accident. It was raining, and the roads were slick, and the truck came out of nowhere. She never had a chance. That must have been awful. It was. It still is. Some days I wake up and forget that she's gone, and then I remember, and it's like losing her all over again. Minji put the phone away, her expression closing off again. But you didn't come here to listen to my sad stories. Was there something else you wanted? Akosua shook her head. No. I just wanted to apologize. And to say that if you ever need someone to talk to, I'm here. I know that probably sounds hollow coming from me, but I mean it. Minji studied her for a long moment. We'll see. That was how it started. Slowly, painfully, awkwardly, Akosua and Minji began to form something that resembled a friendship. Akosua stopped bullying her. She stopped spreading rumors. She even stood up for Minji when other students tried to continue the harassment she had started. Leave her alone, Akosua said firmly when she caught a group of sophomore girls whispering and pointing at Minji in the hallway. She's not bothering anyone. Find something better to do with your time. The girls scattered, and Minji raised an eyebrow at Akosua. You didn't have to do that. Yes, I did. I'm the one who taught them to treat you that way. It's my responsibility to unteach them. Minji almost smiled. Almost. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone who couldn't change. Someone who was too proud to admit they were wrong. But you proved me wrong. I guess I should apologize for making assumptions about you too. The weeks passed, and their tentative friendship deepened. They started eating lunch together. They studied together in the library. They talked about everything and nothing, discovering that they had more in common than either of them had expected. Akosua learned that Minji loved to read, especially classic literature and mystery novels. She learned that Minji was fluent in 4 languages. She learned that Minji had a dry, sardonic sense of humor that came out at the most unexpected moments. She learned that beneath that quiet exterior was a person of incredible depth and complexity. And Minji learned about Akosua too. She learned about the pressure Akosua felt to be perfect all the time. She learned about the insecurities that drove Akosua to seek power and control. She learned that Akosua wrote poetry in secret, beautiful verses about identity and belonging that she had never shown anyone before. Read me one, Minji said one afternoon as they sat under a tree in the school courtyard. No way, Akosua laughed. They're too personal. Too embarrassing. I won't judge. I promise. Something about Minji's steady gaze made Akosua believe her. She pulled out her phone, scrolled to her notes app, and read aloud. Between 2 worlds I stand, never quite belonging. Too American for Africa, too African for here. I wear my skin like armor, my smile like a shield. But sometimes in the quiet moments, I wonder who I really am beneath all these defenses I've built. Am I the queen they see, or the scared little girl hiding underneath? When she finished, there were tears in Minji's eyes. That was beautiful. That was so beautiful, Akosua. You should share that with the world. Maybe someday, Akosua said softly. When I figure out who I really am. I think you're already figuring it out. This version of you, the one who apologizes and writes poetry and sits under trees with strange Korean girls. I think this is the real you. The other version was just armor. Those words stayed with Akosua for days. She thought about them constantly, turning them over in her mind like smooth stones. Was Minji right? Was the person she had been before just a facade, a protective shell designed to keep everyone at arm's length? The more time she spent with Minji, the more she began to believe it was true. But there was something else happening too. Something that Akosua didn't want to acknowledge, something that scared her in ways she couldn't quite articulate. She was starting to feel things for Minji that went beyond friendship. Her heart raced when Minji walked into a room. Her stomach fluttered when Minji laughed. She found herself thinking about Minji constantly, wondering what she was doing, wanting to be near her all the time. These feelings were confusing and terrifying and exhilarating all at once. Akosua had dated Marcus for over a year. She had always assumed she was straight, had never questioned it, had never considered any other possibility. But now, with Minji, everything she thought she knew about herself was being called into question. One evening, as they were walking through the parking lot after staying late for a school event, Akosua finally worked up the courage to ask the question that had been burning in her mind for weeks. Minji, can I ask you something personal? You can ask. I might not answer. Akosua took a deep breath. Have you ever liked someone? Really liked them? In a romantic way? Minji stopped walking, her expression unreadable. Why do you ask? I don't know. Just curious. A long pause. Then, yes. I have. What happened? It didn't work out. They didn't feel the same way. Or maybe they did, but they were too afraid to admit it. Either way, nothing ever came of it. Akosua's heart was pounding so hard she was sure Minji could hear it. Was it a guy or a girl? Minji turned to look at her, really look at her, with those dark eyes that seemed to see straight through to her soul. Does it matter? I guess not. I was just wondering because I've been having these feelings lately. Feelings I don't really understand. Feelings for someone I never expected to have feelings for. The air between them seemed to crackle with electricity. Minji stepped closer, close enough that Akosua could smell her perfume, something light and floral that made her head spin. Akosua, Minji said softly, what exactly are you trying to tell me? Before Akosua could answer, headlights swept across the parking lot, blinding them both. A black SUV pulled up beside them, the window rolling down to reveal a man in a dark suit with a face like carved stone. Mississippi Park, the man said, his voice flat and emotionless. Your father is waiting. You need to come home immediately. Minji's entire demeanor changed in an instant. The softness vanished, replaced by that cold, closed-off mask that Akosua hadn't seen in weeks. Of course. I'm coming. She turned to Akosua, her expression unreadable. I have to go. We'll talk later. And then she was in the SUV, and the SUV was pulling away, and Akosua was left standing alone in the empty parking lot, more confused than she had ever been in her life. The next day, Minji wasn't at school. Or the day after that. Or the day after that. Akosua texted her repeatedly, but her messages went unanswered. She called, but the calls went straight to voicemail. It was like Minji had disappeared from the face of the earth. By the end of the week, Akosua was frantic with worry. She went to the principal's office and asked for information about Minji's absence, but they told her it was confidential. She tried to find Minji's address in the school directory, but it was listed as a P.O. box. She even considered driving around town, looking for that black Mercedes with the tinted windows, but she knew how crazy that would make her look. Finally, a full 10 days after Minji's disappearance, Akosua received a text. Meet me at the old warehouse on 5th Street. Tonight. 9 p.m. Come alone. Don't tell anyone where you're going. It was from an unknown number, but somehow Akosua knew it was Minji. She didn't hesitate. She didn't question the strange location or the mysterious instructions. She just grabbed her keys and drove. The warehouse was dark and abandoned, with broken windows and graffiti covering the walls. Akosua's heart pounded as she got out of her car and approached the entrance. Every instinct screamed at her to turn around, to go home, to stay safe. But she couldn't. Not when Minji might be inside. Not when Minji might need her. She pushed open the heavy metal door and stepped inside. The interior was vast and empty, lit only by the moonlight streaming through the shattered skylights. Akosua's footsteps echoed as she walked, the sound unnaturally loud in the silence. "Minji," she called out. "Are you here?" "I'm here." Akosua spun around. Minji was standing in the shadows, her face half hidden by darkness. She looked different. Older. More tired. Like she had been carrying a weight too heavy for her shoulders. "What is this place?" Akosua asked. "Why did you want to meet here?" "Because there are things I need to tell you. Things I should have told you a long time ago. And I needed a place where we wouldn't be interrupted. Where no one could overhear us." Akosua's blood ran cold. "You're scaring me. I'm sorry. That's not my intention. But what I'm about to tell you is going to change how you see me. It might change how you feel about me. And I need you to promise that you'll hear me out before you react." "I promise." Minji stepped forward, into the moonlight, and Akosua could see that her eyes were red-rimmed, like she had been crying. "My full name is Park Minji. My mother was Lee Soo-young, a classical pianist who performed at concert halls around the world. She was beautiful and talented and kind, and she died when I was 12 years old." "You told me that already." "Yes. But what I didn't tell you was who my father is." Minji paused, taking a shaky breath. "My father is Park Jae-won. He is the head of the Park crime family, one of the most powerful organized crime syndicates in Asia. He controls territories across Korea, Japan, China, and now here in America. He has thousands of people working for him. He has politicians and police officers and judges in his pocket. He is, to put it simply, a mafia lord." The words hung in the air between them, heavy and impossible. Akosua felt the ground shift beneath her feet, felt her understanding of reality crumble and reform into something new and terrifying. "Your father is in the Mafia," she whispered. "Not just in the Mafia. He runs the Mafia. He is the Mafia. And that means I am too, whether I like it or not. I was born into this world. I was raised in this world. I was trained in this world. Those martial arts skills you saw me use? I've been learning them since I was 5 years old. I've been taught to fight, to spy, to lie, to do whatever is necessary to protect my family and our interests." Akosua's mind was racing, trying to process this information, trying to reconcile the quiet, bookish girl she had come to care about with this new reality. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you deserve to know the truth. Because these past few weeks with you have been the most normal, most peaceful weeks of my life. Because when I'm with you, I can almost forget who I am, what I'm destined to become. And because I have feelings for you, Akosua. Real feelings. Feelings that I've been trying to deny and suppress and ignore, but I can't anymore." Akosua's heart stopped. "You have feelings for me?" "Yes. God help me, yes. From the moment you poured that chocolate milk on me, I couldn't stop thinking about you. At first it was anger. Then it was curiosity. Then it was something else entirely. Something that scares me more than anything my father's enemies could ever do to me. If you're still with me right now, I need you to do something real quick. Go ahead and hit that like button if you didn't expect that revelation. And drop a comment telling me what you think is going to happen next, because this story is about to get even crazier." Akosua stood frozen, her heart pounding so hard she thought it might burst out of her chest. Minji had feelings for her. Minji, whose father was a mafia lord, had feelings for her. This was insane. This was impossible. This was the most terrifying and exhilarating moment of her entire life. "I have feelings for you too," Akosua heard herself say, the words tumbling out before she could stop them. "I've been so confused, Minji. I've never felt this way about a girl before. I've never felt this way about anyone before. It's like you see me, really see me, in a way that no one else ever has. Minji closed the distance between them, reaching out to take Akosua's hands in hers. Her fingers were cold, trembling slightly, but her grip was firm. You don't understand what you're getting into. Being with me isn't just about feelings. It's about danger. Real danger. My father has enemies who would hurt you just to get to him. If they knew you were important to me, they would use you as leverage. They would do terrible things to you. I don't care. You should care. You should be running away as fast as you can. I'm not running anywhere. Akosua squeezed Minji's hands tighter. I spent weeks making your life miserable for no good reason. If you can forgive me for that, then I can handle whatever your family drama throws at us. Despite everything, Minji laughed, a small, surprised sound that echoed through the empty warehouse. You call the Korean Mafia family drama? I'm from a Ghanaian family. Trust me, we know drama. They stood there in the moonlight, holding hands, laughing at the absurdity of their situation. Two girls from completely different worlds, connected by fate and circumstance and something deeper that neither of them fully understood. And then Minji leaned forward, and her lips brushed against Akosua's, soft and gentle and questioning. Akosua answered by pulling her closer, deepening the kiss, pouring all of her confused emotions into that moment of connection. When they finally broke apart, both of them were breathless, their foreheads resting together, their eyes closed. What happens now? Akosua whispered. I don't know. My father doesn't know about this, about us. He has plans for me, plans that don't include falling in love with an American girl. If he finds out, he'll try to separate us. Then we don't let him find out. We keep it secret. We figure this out together. Minji pulled back, looking at Akosua with an expression of wonder and fear and hope all mixed together. You really mean that? You're really willing to risk everything to be with me? I've never been more sure of anything in my life.